Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Caspio. Okay, so that we can commence with today's Caspio live session, all about localizations. So just please let me know that you can hear me okay using the chat window, and we will go ahead and begin. Can everyone hear me okay? Let's have a look. Loud and clear? Okay, good. All right. Sounds okay? Yeah, it looks on my end like it's buffering a little bit, but maybe there's just a slight delay with YouTube. But it says excellent connection, so we should be okay. And today we're going to address and talk about localizations, which, if you ask me, in my opinion, I think it's the least eventful aspect of building anything inside Caspio, because it's mostly about formatting. So there's really no glamour to it, but we are going to try and spruce up some of the things as much as we can in order to make it effective and enhance the usability, at least for the end user. Okay, Didier, you can hear me? Good. Welcome back, Dave, Snappy. Good to see everyone, Lucas, Judith. And I know I owe a few of you an email response, and I will get to it. It's just been very busy lately. So work priority takes place before I can get back to those emails. But I will get back to every single email that I receive. I promise you that much. Okay, so shall we? Let's get into it. So one thing that I always like to do at the very beginning, I don't know if many of you have seen this, but on your reports, when you hover over your data page, you sometimes see this pop-up that says data table, which can be very irritating, at least to me. No matter where you go, you see this pop-up data table. Okay, and you may have seen it, but just so you know, you can turn that off by going into localization. So we'll cover that first. Okay, so inside my account, when you go into localizations, you're going to simply hit edit. And then what you can do, because it can be difficult to find if you're navigating the navigation menu, what I usually do is I just search everything, and I'll search for data table. And then you're going to pull it up. And it's usually under labels and markers here under results pages. So all you need to do here is just remove it, delete that, save, and then next time you reload the report, you will no longer see that pop up. A very simple fix. The second thing that I wanted to bring up is how to make modifications to your required label that shows up, which by default, if you ask me, I'm not a big fan of the way it looks. So if I were to, let's say, input some revenue here, and I'm just going to put characters on purpose. So if I hit submit, I like to modify this text. You can see this is the default text the way it comes out. I always like to put a background color and just make the text smaller. To me, that looks cleaner. I will send you guys the code in the chat window once I go over it. But yeah, that's usually what I like to do, just to modify that so it looks a little bit nicer. And then under localization, to do that, you're going to simply search for messages. And that should be under forms and details. So if we go down a little bit, you will find the text for required. So that's usually what's going to pop up if the field is required. Just in case you didn't know, you can also drop in your HTML, CSS here inside the localizations window, and that's going to format that text. You can see it still says required, but we just wrapped that up with some basic inline CSS. I put a red background color, some radius, some padding around my text, and I changed the font size to 10 pixels. So if you want to use the same thing for your forms, here I'll send you in the chat window, and you can just copy and paste that into your own localization, if you like the way that turned out. So if I now copy this, and let's say we are looking for must be a number, so let me see if I can find it quickly. Otherwise, I'll just search for it. Must be a number. Here we go. So I will just paste that underneath. Do this, type that out, remove that, and click save. So now when we reload, and if I type in some characters again, it'll say must be a number in a new format. Okay, it looks better, I think. I mean, I know it's all subjective, right? It's up to you the way you want it to look and how it's going to come out, but to me it looks better. And it kind of follows the standard of what most forms are doing these days. Also, what you can do under localization, you can do the same thing for reports. Just in case you didn't know this, I'm sure many of you have known about this for a while, but if you're looking for something, and let's say it doesn't exist in the table, let's say we look for something random and we hit search, you can modify, usually by default it says no records found, that's the default text, but you can also add HTML and CSS inside the localization. So if you wanted to redirect the user back to your submission form or back to a different data page, if they see no records found, you can redirect them to a specific page on your site. And again, if you edit your localization and you go under results pages, under messages, just find that text that you need to modify. So it says no records found. I simply just made some changes to it. It doesn't look all that great, but again, it still says no records found as the very first text. Here it is. I just put that in bold. And then underneath that, I put this line break to create my second row, which gives me that text to click here to add a new contact. And then your ahref will simply redirect the user back to that page. Okay, good to know. Yeah, very helpful. I mean, I'm sure many of you have known about this, but we always get new attendees in our live stream. I just wanted to bring that back and let you know that inside the localizations, you can add your HTML and CSS just to make things a little more fluid in the application too. Let's see, what's next? So formatting standards. You know how in data pages, you can edit the formatting? Well, you can do formatting standards here to propagate those changes globally across your whole entire application so you don't have to edit one data page at a time, right? So you can see how I changed my currency here to a custom currency. I can flip that back to being a $sign. And if you just make the changes here under formatting standards, then it's going to be applied across all of your data pages as long as you use that localization for all your data pages. That way you don't have to modify one data page at a time. Yeah, it definitely makes the application much more polished and clean. I'm giving you maybe a weaker example here, but I have done some things where you add even more items if it's no records found. You can even add an automatic redirect as well if it's no records found. And under add contact, I think I covered everything here under add contact. But this is very helpful, especially with the formatting standards. That way you don't have to manually go through one data page at a time. Just make all of your changes for numbers if you like. Enable custom number formatting so you can just say, I always want to have 0 digits after the decimal for all of my all of my data pages, mostly on reports anyway. And that'll be applied to all of your data pages. So I'll just disable that. I went back to my $sign. Obviously, positioning of the currency, you can put that in front of your figure. You can put it after the figure. You can add some spacing. There's some other things that you can change in terms of region, number input. Just go through it. It's very easy to understand and modify in case you need to. Let's see if there's anything for yes and no. This is also very helpful too. So you can enable a custom display every time there's a yes and no. So that way you don't have to go through each data page one at a time to provide some kind of a custom text if the checkbox is checked or if it's not checked. Let me see. Can you structure the currency format in a data entry form so that it uses commas when the user... Yeah, you can. However, that type of formatting requires JavaScript, Stephen. So to validate whatever formatting you have as you're entering the field, the data in the field will require JS. Okay, so it's not something that's done through localization. One thing that you can do is what I covered in the past. If you go to our, what is it? forums.caspio.com, and you go to JavaScript. I've mentioned this before, very helpful. We do have one for formatting a phone number. Okay. However, if you just take the script, right, to follow these Caspio standards when it comes to JavaScript, and if you go to ChatGPT, which I use quite frequently, just going to pull this to the left for a second. Give me a second here. The reason why I pull it to my left, right? I don't want you guys to see my ChatGPT. because there's a history on the left-hand side. So you might see some funny things on the left-hand side based on what I'm searching for and what I want to know about. And let's just keep that private, yeah? But if you use ChatGPT and if you paste that script inside that window, you can just give it a prompt. Just say, can you change my JavaScript to format like a currency input so it adds a comma after a certain character or a certain number, you know? So that's something that I recommend, Stephen, if you want. There's no way for me to clean my history here on the left-hand side. I could. But the thing with ChatGPT, you can save your history and you can always train ChatGPT based on your previous history and what you've done. So I don't want to do that. But hopefully you're following my explanation here on what you can do. It's very simple. Just use ChatGPT to modify the existing script in order to get that validation that you need on the field for currency. One thing about localization is a multi-currency system. Can you expand upon that, Didier? Let us know what you're thinking with a multi-currency system. I'm kind of curious about that as well. Like a lot of people, what they like to do is based on the audience that you get on your website, sometimes you want to translate the form into a different language based on where the person is accessing the website from. So if I'm based here in the US, obviously I live in the US, I'd want to see everything in English. But if somebody from, let's say, Germany is accessing the same website, maybe by default, it's going to be set to English. But you might have like a drop down somewhere in the upper right or upper left to change the language to, let's say, German, right? So I think there's a plugin that allows you to just automatically change all the text that's visible on the website to that specific language. Or if you want, you can just duplicate the data page in Caspio. So it's identical data page. One is written in English, one is written in German. And that way you can switch the data page based on the URL in the top of the browser, basically. And then it'll just load up that second data page that's translated into German. I've been trying to create a system that can be used by 2 or 3 different countries where an item can be paid in one country and the balance paid in another. Oh, interesting. I don't know how I would go about doing that, actually. Where item can be paid in one country and the balance paid in another. Interesting. So 2 different countries and pay the balance and maybe even a different currency, yeah. I'll have to give that some thought. I actually don't know how I would set that up. Never had to build anything like that in the past. Believe it or not, I never actually had a request come in like that in the past. Sorry, I'm just thinking. Believe it or not, we've actually completed all of the things that I was going to mention about localization. So it's really not that glamorous, like I said at the beginning. It's the least eventful thing about building apps, but you have access to all of the system-driven messages by Caspio, which are automated. But if you access every single one of these, this is the default text, and then you can change anything to that text here underneath, including some HTML and CSS to make it look nicer. Most of the time, I mainly just play around on the forms to modify that required text or any other text that shows up underneath my fields. Did manage, just lots of work. Okay, good. Good, no pain, no gain. That's what I always say. Sometimes the pain can be overwhelming, but at the end, you'll be happier for it. So, especially when you see it working correctly. Okay, so today was a quick episode. I just wanted to cover localizations just in case we have new people using Caspio and they don't know what to do with that section. It's really just mostly about formatting. And then you can, like I said, you can add some HTML to spruce up the look and feel of the required labels or any other label that shows up underneath the field. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Next Wednesday, we have an interesting topic because we're getting a lot of requests for converting MS Access into an online database application. So we're going to take a simple Access application, which I know it's an outdated system. It's completely offline. So we're going to take one basic Access application. We're going to import the foundation, and by foundation, I mean the tables and relationships into Caspio, and then we're going to build some data pages on top of that structure. Good, good. Glad to hear that it's helping. I don't really spend too much time in localizations when I build my applications. Really, the two things that I do are I turn off the text for data table, which is very annoying, and then I also modify my labels. That's really all that I do. And then, of course, I will, if I know that I have a lot of reports that require certain formatting for digits after the decimal, I don't really play around with the date format because I usually build my apps in English formatting. But if it's a European format, you know, European, they have day, month, and then year. Here in the US, we have month, day, and then year in terms of formatting. But that's it. Quick class today. You guys are good to go. Thanks so much. There's nothing that you'll be able to download later on in the video, so don't feel like you need to come back unless you wanted to see anything else that I covered off in today's quick session. Yeah, you can ask ChatGPT anything, really. I've used it so many times now, especially with creating layouts for my HTML blocks. Can I write it myself? Yeah, but you know, ChatGPT has made me a bit lazier. Sure, many people are in the same boat. Yeah. Check out some of the previous live stream that I did on ChatGPT. I think you'll find it extremely helpful, especially if you're still in the early steps of building your app when it comes to database design. That is, I think, the most helpful thing about ChatGPT and Caspio is sometimes people don't know how to put their tables down correctly with primary keys and foreign keys. If you just give it an instruction, say for example, I need to build a CRM that has customers, it has employees, I want the customers to be able to log in, something like that. Just give it a description and tell it, create a database schema based on that description. It's going to give you all the tables, okay, including the primary keys, including the foreign keys, and then just R&D, rip off and duplicate, right, inside Caspio. Yeah, tables are definitely the backbone. Let me see. So where will the code for required be? Where will the code for required be? There's no code for required. Are you talking about the required fields? Because everything is... Oh, one more thing that most people will not be able to put together. Usually when you do that, you're going to have a little icon that's to the left of the text. It's a little circle that has an exclamation in it. So if you want to remove that as well, that's actually done on the styles. So if I cancel out of that, and I go to style, and I edit, and then we go to errors and messages, one of these, this one, error markers. So this is usually enabled, and it has this little exclamation with the circle around it. Just disable that. So if I keep that enabled, right, and if I hit save, and we reload that form one more time, and we hit submit, you will see that. That bugs me. I don't think that's necessary. So usually just uncheck the box to remove that completely, and it left aligns all of your text here. Yeah, I sent the code inside the chat earlier. I don't know if you can see it, Judith. Let me just repaste it one more time. Feel free to use that code right there inside the localizations if you'd like. But you can also modify it if you want to. Just change the background color to some other color. If you want like dark orange, you can. You can do that. Or any other color, really. And then you can play around with the font size to make the text bigger if you want to. Yeah, just copy. And then on the form side, you can paste that anywhere, really. I mean, I did it for the email, and I also did it for my annual revenue. So if I just putting anything for the email, you see must be a valid email address. And that's also in the localization. And then for revenue, that's also inside the localization. Okay. All right. 20 minutes. Quick class today. Thank you so much for coming back and attending. I do appreciate your attendance. Always happy to know that you guys are able to learn something new. And then next Wednesday, we're going to talk about MS Access and how we can take a simple app and turn that into an online application. All right. Thank you for your time. Have a good rest of the week. And as always, if you have a suggestion or feedback for the live stream, send me an email, and then we will try to incorporate that inside future live streams. Yeah, so here's my email. One thing about my email, which I really need to set the right expectation. Use it, but don't abuse it, because I do have other things at Caspio that I have to focus on. If you have a quick question, how to fix something, feel free to send me an email. If you want to see something in the live stream, something that I think will be worthwhile for all the attendees, I will definitely make sure that we include that in the live stream as well, because I do take on feedback. And even if it's how to build my table structure for a specific use case, do that. Then we can take the class. I'm not going to say who the application is for, and then I'm not going to do, if you just know that it's going to be available publicly, right? So just don't send me anything sensitive that you don't want others to be able to see. But even if it's like table structure for this specific use case, how do I build my tables based on that? Send it to me. We'll add it to the live stream, and then I'll show you how to do it. And I'll let you know when that live stream is going to take place. Yeah, suggestions for live. Yeah, so if you want to see something in the live stream, send me an email. Let me know what you want me to do, and then I'll let you know if it makes sense, if it's feasible for the class. Even if it's something quick, we can find a way to incorporate that into the live stream topics. You're welcome, Judith. I don't know if that was a question, if you meant that to be a statement. That's just a rhetorical question. All right. I won't keep you any longer. Thank you again so much, and we'll see you next Wednesday for the MS Access tutorial. Have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon. I'll keep the chat running for a few more minutes. It was a statement, I figured, yeah. I'll keep the chat running a few more minutes, but I will end the live stream right now. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.